The room was filled with smoke, whispers, and hungry eyes. YN stood under a harsh spotlight wearing a thin white slip, her hands trembling at her sides. The auctioneer's voice echoed in her ears like static. This couldn't be real. She wasn't a thing to be sold. But here she was. Next, on the block, rare, untouched, a gift to your collection, gentlemen. YN swallowed the scream threatening to rip from her throat. She couldn't see the crowd clearly, but she could feel their stares and their desires. Her father's debt had dragged her here, and no one was coming to save her. We'll start at 50,000. A man in a gray suit raised a card. 75. Another hand. 100. The numbers climbed, but the voices blurred, until the room went silent. A single voice spoke, low, smooth, absolute. 1 million, gasps scattered. The auctioneer faltered. Sir, confirmed? A figure stepped forward from the shadows, tall, dressed in black, from boots to the silk shirt clinging to his chest. Raven hair, cold eyes, a tattoo on his neck, Jungkook. He didn't look at the auctioneer. He looked at her. Mine, he said. Sold. She didn't remember walking. Didn't remember who unlocked her cuffs. Only the cold night air and the black car that swallowed her whole. Inside, the leather seats smelled of spice and danger. Jungkook sat beside her, legs spread, one arm draped lazily along the back of the seat. He turned to her. What's your name? She hesitated. Her lips parted, but the sound was stuck in her throat. Never mind, he said. You'll answer to me now. She clenched her fists. You bought me, like a pet. Wrong. I don't buy pets. I keep them. I protect what's mine. He reached over and placed his black coat around her shoulders. It was heavy and smelled like leather and something darker. You're shaking, he murmured. She wanted to push it off, to scream, but her body betrayed her, curling into the warmth. The mansion loomed like a castle, high walls, steel gates, security at every turn. The inside glowed with marble, gold accents, and shadow. Jungkook led her through the halls in silence, his hand never quite touching her, but always near. He opened a door to a bedroom unlike anything she'd ever seen. Black velvet sheets, a chandelier above the bed, a dressing room lined with silk and lace. You'll sleep here, she turned to him. And if I don't? His jaw tightened, then he smiled. It was worse than any glare. Then you'll sleep with me. He left her alone. She sat on the bed, her heart pounding. The choker left on the pillow shimmered in the low light. A note beside it read, Wear it when you're ready to belong. She stared at the mirror across the room. Her reflection looked lost. She wasn't ready, but part of her was already his. The drive was silent. The night outside the car window blurred into streaks of city lights, neon signs, and endless black. The leather seat beneath you felt cold against your skin, the thin white dress still clinging to your body like a reminder of your shame, or maybe your fear. Jungkook sat beside you, silent, still. Only his hand rested on your thigh, warm, firm, claiming. You didn't know what scared you more, the touch or the comfort it brought. He didn't speak during the ride, didn't ask your name, didn't look at you. He didn't have to. His presence filled the car like smoke, thick, impossible to ignore. You were trembling inside, but you didn't dare show it. The car finally slowed in front of large iron gates. They parted silently, revealing a massive estate. Black stone, sharp edges, cold lights that reminded you of a castle more than a home. Guards stood at attention, faces unreadable. This was not safety. This was a kingdom. And Jungkook was its king. Inside, the mansion was eerily quiet. The walls were lined with framed art, gold leaf violence, mythic battles, marble statues of gods with cruel eyes. The air smelled like leather, oak, and something darker. Gunpowder or blood. Maybe both. Jungkook led you through the halls without a word, his hand now gripping your wrist. You could have pulled away, could have screamed, but part of you knew it wouldn't matter. Finally, he opened a door at the end of the hall. His room, large, shadowed, everything black, walls, sheets, even the furniture. It felt like walking into a storm or a trap. He turned toward you slowly, dark eyes scanning every inch of your body. "You belong to me now," he said, voice low and unreadable. No anger, no cruelty, just truth. You stood frozen, heart pounding. You sleep in my bed, you eat when I say, you wear what I give you. His tone wasn't cruel, it wasn't even cold, it was final. "You don't speak unless I ask you to, you don't leave this house, and if you ever lie to me—" He stepped closer, so close you could see the veins in his neck, the tattoos crawling up beneath his collar. "I will know." Your lips parted, but no words came out. His hand reached up, thumb brushing your bottom lip. "I don't hurt what's mine," he whispered, "unless they need to be reminded who they belong to." You flinched, not from the words, but from the heat blooming low in your stomach. Why did those words make your thighs press together? He must have noticed. His mouth curved slightly. "You feel it already, don't you?" You blinked up at him. "This isn't about fear," he said. "It's about control, trust, obedience." His fingers tilted your chin up gently. "You'll learn to give me those things." Silence. The kind of silence that feels like standing on the edge of a cliff. Then he turned and walked toward a closet, pulling out a black silk robe. He held it out to you. "Put this on." You hesitated. He didn't repeat himself. You took it, slipped it over your shoulders. It was soft, expensive, too intimate. When you looked up, he was watching you again, like a predator measuring the moment before he pounces. "You may sleep now," he said, stepping aside. Your heart thudded. "That was it?" He pointed to the bed. You walked slowly toward it, every nerve buzzing. You slipped beneath the sheets, trying to breathe normally. He didn't follow. Instead, he took the armchair in the corner of the room and sat down, facing you, watching, guarding, owning. "Good night," he said, eyes burning into yours. You whispered, "Good night." You closed your eyes. But sleep didn't come, because even in the silence, you could feel him watching, and somehow, that made you feel safe and scared, all at once. The room was quiet, but your mind wasn't. Even though the silk sheets wrapped your body in comfort, even though your eyes were closed, you weren't sleeping, because you could feel him. Jungkook, sitting in the corner like a shadow, his gaze heavy, unrelenting. It didn't matter that he hadn't touched you since entering this room. His presence touched everything. You turned beneath the sheets, facing away from him, trying to breathe through the pressure building in your chest. 1,000 questions warred inside you. Who was he? What did he want? Why you? And maybe the most dangerous question of all, why did a part of you not want to run? You didn't know how long you lay there before you finally whispered into the darkness. "Why didn't you touch me?" The silence that followed was so thick it nearly crushed you. Then, the sound of a chair creaking. Footsteps. Jungkook was moving. You turned over just as he reached the edge of the bed. He looked down at you, still in that tailored black shirt, unbuttoned at the collar. His sleeves rolled to reveal tattoos and veins along his forearms. "You thought I would?" he asked, voice calm, but with a shadow of something dangerous behind it. You swallowed. "You bought me," his jaw tensed. "I didn't buy you to use you like the others would have," he said, leaning closer. "I bought you to own you." You flinched slightly at the word, but something inside you twisted in response. Not disgust, something darker, warmer, curious. "Do you want me to touch you?" he asked suddenly. Your breath caught, your lips parted, but you didn't answer, because even you didn't know. Jungkook's eyes dropped to your mouth. Then, slowly, to your neck, to where the silk robe had slipped off your shoulder. He reached out, brushing one knuckle along your collarbone. Just a whisper of contact. But your body lit up like he'd set a fire to your skin. "I told you before," he said, I don't hurt what's mine. His hand rose, fingers brushing a lock of hair behind your ear. But I will train what's mine. Train? You shivered. Training doesn't begin with punishment, he murmured. It begins with permission. He leaned in closer, his mouth now inches from yours. Tell me no, he said. You blinked, confused. If you don't want this, he said, eyes burning into yours. Tell me no. Say the word, and I'll walk out that door and never touch you. The air around you tightened. Could you say no? Did you want to? You were terrified, but not just of him, of yourself. Because instead of pushing him away, your fingers reached up and curled into his shirt. You didn't say a word, but he heard your answer. Jungkook exhaled, slow, controlled. Then he moved, not with violence, with precision. He kissed you. Not soft, not sweet, but slow, possessive. Like he was testing the shape of your mouth, memorizing the taste. You whimpered against him, not from fear, but from how deeply it pulled you in. He cupped the back of your head, deepening the kiss, his thumb stroking your jaw as your lips parted for him. There was no rush. He was showing you exactly how this would go. Not rough, not frantic. Control. When he finally pulled back, you were breathless, dizzy, lips swollen. Jungkook looked down at you, eyes darker than before. You still have time to stop this, he said, voice hoarse. You looked up at him, shook your head slowly. No, you whispered. He smiled then, just barely. But it wasn't soft. It was dangerous. He slipped the robe from your shoulder, exposing your bare skin to the cool air. Then he kissed you again, lower this time. Your neck, your collarbone, the top of your chest. Your breath hitched. You're learning, he whispered. Good girl. And you hated how much that praise made your thighs press together. He didn't undress you fully, not yet. He left you craving more than he gave, because this wasn't about taking. It was about teaching. And tonight, you learned what it felt like to be wanted without being used. You learned what it meant to choose submission, not out of weakness, but out of trust. When you fell asleep in his arms, later you realized the fear wasn't gone. It had simply changed its shape. Because now, you weren't scared of being owned. You were scared of how much you wanted to be. Morning came slowly through the mansion's heavy curtains. You woke before the light reached the floor. Jungkook wasn't in bed, but his scent was warm, dark, leather and smoke and something almost sinful. You sat up slowly, still wrapped in the soft silk robe he'd draped over you the night before. The events of that night played behind your eyes like a dream. That kiss, his hands, the way he made you feel like you were standing at the edge of a cliff, and he was the only one who could catch you. But he hadn't touched you beyond that. He hadn't undressed you, hadn't taken what everyone in that auction assumed he bought. You didn't know what to make of it. You stepped onto the cold marble floor, feet bare, heart fluttering. You had no idea where to go. The mansion was a maze of dark wood, velvet walls, and silence. Then you heard it. The sound of something sharp slamming into something harder. Crack. Again. And again. You followed the sound down the hallway, past locked doors and priceless art. Then you found him. Jungkook stood shirtless in what looked like a private gym, fists wrapped, body drenched in sweat. He pounded into a leather punching bag with punishing rhythm. Each strike echoed through the room like thunder. You stood in the doorway, watching silently. His muscles moved like liquid steel. His tattoos were slick with sweat. His expression? Focused. Haunted. He didn't see you right away, but when he did, he stopped mid-punch. You tensed. Jungkook wiped his face with a towel, breathing heavy. Then he looked at you, eyes dark and unreadable. You shouldn't walk around barefoot, he said simply. This place isn't safe. You blinked. I didn't mean to. I know. He tossed the towel aside and walked past you, close enough that your shoulder brushed his bare arm. "Come," he said over his shoulder. You followed. Because of course, you did. Back in the bedroom, Jungkook opened a drawer and pulled out something that made your breath catch. A box. Inside, silk clothes, lingerie, jewelry, and a single, delicate silver chain. Not for your neck? For your ankle? He knelt down in front of you. You flinched instinctively. He paused, looked up at you. "I won't hurt you." "I know," you whispered, barely able to meet his gaze. "It's not that." He waited. I don't understand this." Jungkook fastened the anklet around your skin. It was light, decorative, not a shackle, but it felt like something bigger. "It's not a cage," he said softly. "It's a mark." Of ownership? Of protection. You looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, the darkness in his eyes didn't scare you. It made you curious. "Why me?" you asked. "Why did you buy me?" Jungkook stood up, tall and intimidating again. "Because someone else would have broken you," he said, voice like fire and ice. "And I couldn't let that happen." He moved closer, brushing a damp strand of hair behind your ear. "I'll never take what you don't give," he said. Then, with devastating softness, "But once you do give it, I'll never give it back." Your knees almost buckled. He cupped your face gently. "Understand something, YN," he whispered. "This house, this room, me, we all come with rules." "What rules?" He smiled faintly. "You don't lie to me. You don't run from me. And you don't hide from me." You swallowed hard. "Ever." His hand fell away from your face, and suddenly the air felt colder. He moved toward the door. "I'll have food sent to your room. There are clothes in the closet. Today, you rest." You stepped forward instinctively. "Wait, what about you?" Jungkook paused at the doorway, then said over his shoulder, "When I come back tonight, if you want more." He turned slightly, eyes catching yours. "You'll wait for me in my bed." Then he disappeared down the hallway and left you standing there. Not sure if you were breathing, but sure of one thing. You would wait. The afternoon passed in silence, but not peace. You paced the bedroom in slow circles, unable to sit still. You tried to eat, but your stomach twisted with nerves. You stared at the closet for too long, wondering what exactly Jungkook meant when he said, "Wait for me in my bed." Wait how? Naked, begging, sleeping, you didn't know. And that terrified you almost as much as it thrilled you. By the time the sun set behind the heavy curtains, the room had changed. It felt alive, thicker with air, thicker with expectation. You opened the closet Jungkook had pointed to earlier. Inside, silk robes, lace underthings, and evening gowns that looked too expensive to touch. Every piece was your size. Every piece screamed, "You are not a girl anymore. You are a woman. You are his." You chose a black slip. It was barely there. Soft, sheer, with lace around the bust. It hugged your body like a whisper. And you got into his bed. Not under the sheets, on top, waiting, like he asked. Time slowed. The door opened sometime past midnight. You heard it before you saw him. Boots on marble, quiet, unhurried. Then Jungkook stepped inside. He looked like a storm in a suit. Black tie undone, collar loose, hair tousled like he'd run his hands through it too many times. He froze when he saw you, and smiled. Not cruelly, not sweetly, but possessively. "You listened," he said, shutting the door behind him. "Your throat was dry." "You told me to." He walked toward the bed, jacket falling from his shoulders. "And you look like sin," he murmured, eyes devouring your body as he sat on the edge of the bed. "Do you know what that does to me?" He reached out and ran his fingers lightly over your thigh. You shivered. Jungkook leaned in close, not to kiss, not to take, but to speak. Low, dangerous. "You still have a choice, YN." You swallowed hard. What if I choose you? He stilled, then leaned closer. That means you follow my rules. You don't get to play innocent anymore. You don't get to hide behind "I didn't know." You become mine in every way. You hesitated, but only for a second. Then, "I want to be yours." Jungkook's eyes darkened. He didn't kiss you. He didn't touch you more than he already had. Instead, he stood and said, "Then get up." You blinked. "Where are we going?" He extended a hand. "To the basement." Your heart stuttered. "The what?" "The basement," he said again, voice smooth as silk but sharp as a knife, "where I show you exactly what it means to belong to me." You took his hand, because fear and desire were now the same thing. The hallway to the basement was silent. Every step echoed off cold stone walls, lit only by low amber lights that flickered with each movement. You followed closely behind Jungkook, your bare feet soundless against the floor, the silk slip whispering around your legs. He didn't look back, not once, but he never let go of your hand. At the bottom of the stairs, a thick black door waited. He stopped in front of it, turned to face you. "This is the last time I ask," Jungkook said, voice low but firm. "Are you sure?" You searched his eyes, for cruelty, for control, but all you saw was warning, and something else. Care. "I'm sure," you whispered. A slow smile tugged at his lips. He opened the door. The room beyond was unexpected. Not a dungeon, not a cell. It was a world. Dark walls, polished floors, shelves of objects you didn't yet understand, ropes, blindfolds, velvet boxes. In the center, a low, soft bed. In one corner, a mirror. In another, a leather chair. It was beautiful and terrifying, a place meant for surrender. "Come in," Jungkook said. You stepped inside. He closed the door behind you. Silence wrapped around you like velvet. "I won't hurt you," he said, circling slowly behind you. "Not unless you want me to." You gasped softly as his fingers brushed your bare shoulder. "But I will break you," he murmured into your ear. "Break the girl who obeys because she's afraid, and rebuild a woman who kneels because she chooses to." Your skin flushed with heat. "Do you want that?" he asked. You nodded. "Yes." Jungkook turned you to face him. Then he pointed to the bed. "Lie down, on your back, hands by your sides." You obeyed. The sheets were soft, cool. The room was quiet, but alive with tension. Jungkook walked slowly around the bed, eyes on you the whole time. He took his time, unbuttoning his shirt, removing his watch, rolling up his sleeves. Then, finally, he sat beside you. "Close your eyes," he said. You did. His hands were gentle as he touched your face, your neck, your collarbone, not rushed, not rough, just intentional. He explored you like you were something sacred, something to learn. He didn't rush to undress you further. He didn't even kiss you yet. He just touched. And then, a pause. "Do you know the difference between pain and power?" he asked softly. You shook your head. "You'll feel it soon," he whispered. You opened your eyes. He was still watching you, but now his hand held something, soft and black, a silk ribbon. He tied it around your wrist, then the other, gently, and fastened them above your head to the bedpost. You tensed. He leaned over you, his face inches from yours. "You're not tied down," he said. "You're anchored." That single sentence made your heart pound louder than before. He kissed your forehead, then your temple, then your mouth. Slow, deep, possessive, but not rushed. Everything was about the moment, your breath, your choice, your submission, and you gave it. Fully. He didn't demand. You offered. That was the beginning of everything. You slept in his bed now. You wore what he chose, sat where he told you, ate from his hand like it was your only option. And the truth was, it was. But strangely, it didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt like structure, like safety wrapped in steel. And Jungkook? He never raised his voice, never threatened. He didn't have to. His silence was command enough. That morning, you knelt at the foot of his chair without being told. Your hands rested on your thighs. Your head was bowed. You could feel his eyes on you from where he sipped his coffee, watching you breathe, testing your patience. "You're learning," he said finally. You looked up slowly, not for approval, but for him. He smiled then, the rare, almost invisible smile that ghosted the corners of his mouth, but didn't reach his eyes. That kind of smile that made you ache for praise. "Come here," he said. You crawled forward. He didn't touch you. Instead, he opened a small black box. Inside was a ring. Not gold, not silver. It was a dark steel band, simple, cold, and beautiful in its defiance. "Hold out your hand," he said. You did. He slid the ring onto your finger, middle, left hand. A symbol. Not of marriage. Not yet. But of ownership. Of belonging. "This is your first mark," Jungkook said. "You wear it because you're mine, because you choose to be mine." Your throat tightened. He stood and pulled you to your feet, towering over you. "You'll learn what pleases me," he said, brushing hair back from your face. "You'll learn how to carry my name, my scent, my rules." His voice dropped lower. "And if anyone even thinks of touching you, they'll bleed for it." Your heart pounded so hard you thought he might hear it. He lifted your hand to his lips and kissed the ring he'd given you. A ritual, an unspoken vow. You stood there for a long time, just breathing him in. Then, without a word, Jungkook turned and walked down the hallway. You followed, barefoot and marked, and you smiled. Because every step was yours now. You weren't just the girl sold to the devil anymore. You were the girl who chose to stay. The ballroom shimmered with gold and danger. Men in suits, women in silk, everyone masked with wealth but brimming with violence. These were the elites of Jungkook's empire, rivals, allies, spies. You stepped into the room on Jungkook's arm, dressed in crimson silk that clung to your curves like a second skin. No one missed the steel ring on your finger, or the hand resting firmly at your waist. He had dressed you himself, chosen the gown, the heels, even your lipstick. You were a walking statement, untouchable. But the room didn't care about boundaries. Power always invited jealousy. Jungkook led you to the head of the long banquet table and sat, pulling you gently onto his lap. You didn't protest. You were no longer the trembling girl from the auction block. Now you sat in his presence like a throne had been carved just for you. But danger doesn't always announce itself with weapons. Sometimes it wears a smile. A woman appeared from the other end of the room, tall, lethal beauty, wrapped in black velvet. You noticed how her eyes scanned Jungkook first, then paused on you. "Jion," she purred, "it's been too long." "Minji," Jungkook said, voice neutral. "Still surviving?" She laughed. Then she turned to you and held out her hand. "And this must be the new favorite." You stared at her hand, didn't move, didn't smile. Jungkook said nothing, but you felt the way his hand tensed on your hip. The way his breath stilled, just for a second. Minji's smile faded. She dropped her hand. "A little shy, is she?" "Not shy," Jungkook said coldly. "Selective." The air turned colder. You met Minji's eyes. And, for the first time, you spoke with the kind of tone Jungkook used like a knife. "Shy girls don't wear collars." Gasps rippled around the table. Minji's lips parted slightly, in shock, or rage, or both. But Jungkook? He smiled. A real one this time. Pride flickered in his eyes like fire. He pulled your hand up and kissed your knuckles slowly, deliberately. "She speaks when she needs to," he said to the room, "and when she does..." He looked back at you, smirking. "You listen." The room quieted after that. Minji walked away. And for the rest of the night, no one else dared look at you like a challenge. You weren't just his anymore. You were his match. Rain fell hard that night. It wasn't the soft, cleansing kind of rain. It was violent. Thunder cracked above the estate as if the sky itself was warning you of what was coming. You stood in Jungkook's private armory, dressed in black from head to toe. Tactical boots, gloves, a bulletproof vest, molded to your shape. There was a knife strapped to your thigh and a loaded pistol in your hand. Jungkook stood in front of you, fastening the final strap of your gear with careful fingers. "This isn't a game," he said, low and serious. "I know." He cupped your face in his hands, his thumb brushing your cheek. "You're smart, you're fast, but tonight, you'll be hunted." You swallowed hard. He leaned in, lips brushing your ear. "Don't give them mercy, give them fear." You nodded once. This was your test, your first real mission. Jungkook wasn't going to protect you. He was going to watch, because if you were going to survive beside him, the world needed to know you were as dangerous as the man you loved. The target was a rival cartel base, a warehouse by the docks, heavily guarded. The traitor inside had once served under Jungkook, but had betrayed him for money, leaking shipments, exposing trade routes. Now, Jungkook wanted the betrayal answered with blood. But he wasn't going to do it himself. He sent you. You moved through the shadows, swift and silent. You remembered every tactic Jungkook had drilled into you. Listen for movement, read the air, use your surroundings. You were a ghost. One by one, you took the guards out. Silent kills, knife to the throat, a pistol shot muffled with a silencer. Then you found him, the traitor, in the central office. He didn't recognize you at first, until you aimed the gun at his head. "You?" he sneered. "You're the pretty little toy Jean keeps in his bed." You didn't flinch. "I'm the one who decides if you live." The man laughed, but it was hollow. "You won't shoot. You're just playing dress-up." Bang! The bullet hit his shoulder. He screamed, falling back, gripping the wound. You walked forward, slow and calm, aiming again. "Try saying that again," you said. Terror filled his eyes now. "You don't have to do this." "But I want to." You shot him in the leg. Then you walked up, crouched beside him, and whispered, "Jungkook taught me everything. That includes where to aim and where to miss." Then you raised the gun to his head. One final shot. Silence followed. Your heart raced. Your hands trembled. But your eyes burned steady. You stood, wiped your blood-smeared gloves on his suit, and walked out of the warehouse without looking back. When you returned, soaked in rain and the stench of death, Jungkook was waiting. He didn't ask if you completed the mission. He already knew. He stepped forward and cupped your face just like before. But this time his eyes burned with something deeper. Respect, pride, and something darker. He kissed you hard, not gentle, not sweet, possessive. When he pulled back, he whispered against your lips, "They'll talk about this night for years." And then, as thunder crashed again overhead, he scooped you into his arms and carried you to his room. You weren't his weakness. You were his weapon. And the world would fear the queen he created. It happened in seconds. One moment, you were leaving the downtown club Jungkook owned. The next, your vision went black. A bag over your head, a sharp jab in your neck. The world tilted, and then nothing. You woke up tied to a chair, wrists bruised, ankles bound, lips dry. The room was cold, concrete walls, a flickering bulb overhead, and in front of you, two men, both armed, neither familiar. "John's little queen," one sneered. "Let's see if he still acts like God when we send him pieces of you." They didn't touch you, not yet. They wanted fear first. But they didn't understand one thing. You weren't weak anymore. You weren't his pet. You were his partner. And you'd been trained by the devil himself. Meanwhile, he got the call within minutes, a live video stream sent directly to his private line. Your face on screen, blood on your lip, your arms tied. You looked up at the camera, and and even bruised. You didn't cry. You didn't beg. You smirked. Jungkook's knuckles cracked as he set his whiskey glass down. The room went silent around him. His men held their breath. He watched for exactly 20 seconds. Then he stood, and all hell broke loose. "Find them," he said, voice dead cold. "Burn the world if you have to." They didn't know you had a blade hidden in your boot, a gift from Jungkook. They didn't know you could pop your thumb free of its joint to slip out of handcuffs. Anti tri aing chi di gang, chaik shibrowering. Jungkook made you learn until you bled. So when the second man turned his back, you moved, fast, sharp, silent. The blade flashed, blood sprayed, and you were free. By the time Jungkook's team crashed through the building, weapons raised, they found you standing over one of the men, your boot on his throat, his own gun aimed at his temple. Jungkook didn't smile. He didn't speak. He walked straight up to you and wrapped you in his arms, blood and all. Then, slowly, he turned to the man still breathing. Jungkook knelt beside him, eyes dark and distant. "You think I'm scary?" he asked, voice quiet. He pointed at you. "She's the one who didn't flinch when you took her. You want to be remembered?" He leaned in. "She'll be your last memory." Then Jungkook handed you the gun, and you didn't hesitate. Back at the estate, Jungkook held you like you were made of fire and glass. He touched every bruise like it was a sin he needed to erase. "I should have protected you," he whispered. You cupped his jaw. "You made me strong enough to protect myself." He didn't make love to you that night. He worshipped you. Every kiss, every touch. A silent promise. You were his heart now, and he'd burn the world before letting it stop again. The morning light crept through the tall windows of the mansion, painting soft golden patterns across the sheets. You were already awake, curled into John Jungkook's chest. His arm was wrapped around your waist possessively, the silver ring on your collar still glinting beneath the shadows of dawn. You thought back to how everything began, the auction, the collar, the rules, the punishments. And now here you were, his queen, his weapon, his obsession. "Are you thinking again?" he murmured, voice thick with sleep. You smiled faintly. "Always." Jungkook pulled you closer, lips brushing your forehead. "I can hear it when you drift, like you're slipping out of my arms." "I'm not," you whispered. "I'm right here." He tilted your chin, his eyes darker now. "You're mine, even when you think you're not." You knew better than to deny it. Weeks passed like smoke, heavy, warm, and impossible to hold. Jungkook took you deeper into his world. Not just his bed, but his empire. You were no longer the frightened girl sold at an auction. You were the one giving orders. He trained you alongside his most trusted men. You learned to read danger in a glance, disarm threats with a word. But when the night came, you still submitted, only to him. Sometimes he was soft, kissing every inch of your skin like it was sacred. Other times he claimed you like the wild animal you'd first met, rough, demanding, dominant. He never touched another woman, never needed to. You were everything he wanted, every hunger satisfied in you alone. Then one morning you felt strange, sick. Jungkook noticed before you could hide it. "You're pale," he said, "and you haven't touched your food." You brushed it off, but hours later he brought a doctor. No questions asked. The result came back simple, final, pregnant. Jungkook stood silently, then dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead to your stomach. "My blood," he whispered. "You've given me something nothing else ever has." Tears filled your eyes, and for once, neither of you tried to stop them. That night, he didn't take you like he usually did. He made love to you. Slow, reverent, every thrust a vow. As months passed, the world outside grew more dangerous. An old rival, Park Sang-woo, wanted your throne. and knew the fastest way to get to Jungkook was through you. The attack came at dawn. Gunfire shattered the estate. Glass exploded. You clutched your belly, heart pounding, as Jungkook pressed a pistol into your hand. "Stay here," he said. "If anyone walks through that door who isn't me, shoot them between the eyes." You watched him walk out, rage burning in his bones. Later, when the dust cleared, blood stained the marble floors. But Jungkook came back alive, dragging Sang-woo by the collar, half dead. He didn't hand him to his men. He brought him to you. "You decide," he said coldly. You looked into Sang-woo's eyes, the man who threatened your child, and raised the gun. One shot, clean. Jungkook watched with pride. "My queen," he whispered. 9 months later, you gave birth to twin boys. The labor was long, brutal, but Jungkook never left your side. He held your hand through every scream, kissed your forehead through every contraction. When your sons were placed in your arms, he wept, really wept, not for weakness, for love. "Our blood," he whispered, "our future." That night, while the twins slept, he held you in bed, whispering over and over, "You gave me a home." There was no white dress, no chapel. Jungkook married you the only way he knew, with a blade. He cut his palm, pressed it to yours, letting your blood mix. "No vows," he said, "only truth." You kissed him, the blood drying between your fingers. That night he took you on the stone balcony under the stars, slow, fierce, endless, as if the gods had to witness it and accept their place beneath you both. Years passed. Your empire grew stronger, feared, worshipped. People bowed when you entered a room, not just because of Jungkook, but because of you. He still claimed you every night, not just with his body, but with his heart. Sometimes you would lie awake, listening to your sons laugh down the halls, and you'd feel his hand trace your skin, whispering against your shoulder. You were never a prize. You'd turn to him, smiling. "No," you'd say, "I was the reward." The end, or maybe just the beginning. Love.